The Shinola on that one. All right. Now, I would like to address this arts funding issue. Now, this all reminds me of a humorous story of the traveling salesman. Let's say that the taxpayer is a farmer and the government is a salesman. Well, the farmer says, you can spend the night in my barn, but do me a favor, don't stick your willy into any of the 3 holes in the wall. Well, in this case, the salesman's willy represents the taxpayer's money, you understand. Well, the government, like the salesman, can't help himself. Sticks his willy in the first hole, it feels good. Sticks his willy in the second hole, it feels even better. Sticks his willy in the third hole, and it hurts like hell, and it won't let go. Well, in the morning, the farmer comes out and he explains. Behind the first hole was my wife. Behind the second hole was my daughter. And behind the third hole was a milking machine that don't let go till it gets 50 gallons. Gentlemen, I propose that this arts funding is like a milking machine, and unless we shut it down, it's going to rip our dicks right off.
What?
Registered commies, not guns.
Oh, he was probably a member of the National Rifle Association. There was a group that helped criminals get guns so they could shoot citizens. It was a public service.
At last, the greatest album of love songs ever recorded. You'll want to share them with someone special.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
Sung by the man who turned a personal affliction into a recording career, Don No Soul Simmons.
Just like me, they long to be close to you. Why do stars fall down from the sky every time you walk by? Just like me, they long to be close to you. She'd been sitting there and
So curl up by the fireside and listen to the non-threatening music of this master showman.
And honey, I miss you. And I'm being good. And I'd love to be with you. If only I could. Say, has anybody seen my sweet gypsy rose? Here's her picture when she was my sweet man.
Young lovers of any age will cherish this timeless collection of the world's most romantic ballads. And if you act now, you'll get free this bonus album, Don Simmons Down and Funky.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. Never understood a single word he said.
This 2-record collection is not available in any stores, so order now.
Yes, he always had some mighty fine wine.
Throw out your hands, stick out your tush, hands on your hips, give 'em a push. You'll be surprised you're doing the French mistake. Voila!
sounds like steam escaping.
Alan Pearl. Interesting. How do these people, where do they come from? You know, sure, I'd seen him around. It would never have occurred to me to walk up to the dentist and say, you know, are you interested in this? But I was shopping for my wife, Bonnie. I buy most of her clothes. And Mrs. Pearl was in the same shop. And it just was an accident. You know, we started talking about pantyhose. She was saying, whatever, that's not the point of the story, but what the point was that through this accidental meeting, it's like, you know, it's like a Hitchcock movie where, you know, you're thrown into a rubber bag and put in the trunk of a car. You find people. You find them. Something. Is it karma? Maybe. But we found him. That's the important thing. And I got Bonnie a wonderful pantsuit.
The memories I'll never lose. 1,000 things I'll never use. I should throw them all away. But not today.
In the bedroom, there's a touch of roses in the air. But when I turn to find her, she's never really there.
Dude, you don't have to be ashamed or anything.
But I'm not a fudge packer.
Then why are you packing fudge?
I'm not. I'm a very busy actor. I'm just here trying to get away for a weekend and do some fly fishing.
Dude, you are in a fudge factory packing fudge.
Oh, that does it. I will sue you.
For what?
You can't just call somebody a fudge packer and get away with it. Hey, is that fudge packer Tom Cruise?
This is where he, you know, every day I'm wearing a necklace like this, and he's in this urn.
Is his ashes?
Yeah, his ashes right here and here. Yep. So both of my grandpas right here.
What's that other thing on the necklace?
That's a Punisher emblem.
What's that about?
I like the Punisher just because he's you know, he takes his, you know, the law into his own hands to, you know, punish the people that wronged him.
We're Americans to be critical in a time of war. Even the Democrats are smart enough to keep their mouths shut on this.
Edward R. Murrow said we should never confuse dissent with disloyalty.
Edward R. Murrow is media. And he's dead. Dead don't count.
The question on everyone's lips is why? How could this be happening? Recent victims include local favorites, the Hutchinson brothers.
My brother is dead. He broke his neck and then he drowned. Why? I mean, one minute we're laughing, and the next minute he's dead. Why would God let this happen?
What do these coca leaves do to you?
Well, if you chew them for a while, you get a feeling of euphoria, increased energy, strength, and stamina. It's also rumored to heighten your sexual desires. And it makes you see beauty in the most repulsive things.
Did anyone ever tell you that you have the most adorable ear?
For shame, Doc. Hunting rabbits with an elephant gun.
Elephant gun?
That's right, Doc. So why don't you go shoot yourself an elephant? You do, and I'll give you such a pinch!
We're going to start our volleys. We hope you like the show. Everything is ready. We're raring to go. We'll give you all the latest songs and dances full of pep. We're gonna start with hot shots. Just watch this.
Originally settled as Ocean View during the 1850s, the city's population boomed with displaced
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantastic Comics Presents. My name is
Yule Carter, comic book retailer in Berkeley, California.
That's right. A comic book retailer in Berkeley, California. My name is Yule Carter. And for those of you that are new here, I want to say...
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
What's up, everybody? Let me know in the chat. What's up? Maybe like keep it to comics or, chat amongst yourselves. Say hi like you would maybe in a comic store. Or are you the type of person that would come into the comic store and be all quiet, look for something, don't see it, and then just leave? That's sad. Now you can do that. I'm just joking. Come on in, say hi. Thank you, everybody that's new here. During the show or after the show. Leave a comment after the fact. Let me know you're here. We've got a ton of new subscribers thanks to Wes over at Thinking Critical. He put out the call. We only needed about 12 more people to subscribe, and we hit the mark and are well over it. We're on 1,100, everybody. Let's do it. I can get monetized soon, and then I'll play way less videos that would get me, demonetized. But for those of you that are new here, this is a comic book show. We're going to talk like we do in the comic book store. And it's from a comic store owner's point of view. I'm also a longtime fan. I cut my teeth reading on comic books. Stan Lee, Spider-Man reprints, Marvel Tales, big treasury editions of Batman, Justice League, little compilations. We'll be talking about some of those in a few moments. But yeah, for those of you that are new here, I own Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California. I have since 2011, May of 2011, we opened the store. So we've been around a while. I think like 20 years for a store is really good. And we're almost a quarter of the way there. Is it a quarter? If I knew math better, if I knew my numbers better, maybe it wouldn't be in question if we'll make it to 20 years. For those of you that have seen that video for the first time that opens the show where it's all about Fantastic Comics, that was our bigger, larger location in Berkeley. We're not there anymore, but we are at 1708A MLK Jr. Way. And it's better parking. It doesn't cost money unless you stay too long at the wrong hours. And we're open Wednesday through Sunday. New comics. I know there's comic book stores out there that don't have new comics. I think that's ridiculous. But I have heard that that's the thing. Like I said, we like to talk about things that happen in the store, or that we talk about in the store. One of the things that we talk about, I like to start the show off with, it's called the Wrestling Minute. Here it is. That's right, the Wrestling Minute. There was a big pay-per-view that happened on Sunday. It was AEW's Revolution. I usually make fun of AEW for like a lot of botches that happen on their shows because they're maybe talented, but unchecked wrestlers doing things that are unchecked. And there were a few moments in the show where, well, everybody out there, even the fans that love the show, had to admit that the buildup was poor. I say the buildup is almost always poor on the program. It's just wrestling, something I always wanted all my life, and Jill can attest to this. And this show, more than any other show, has more wrestling, and it's treated more like, in-ring is more important. But I don't think that's necessarily what I always wanted. But now I'm getting it, and I guess I was wrong. There were two main matches that everybody was probably caring about. There was a Jon Moxley match, and if you wanted to know if he was going to bleed, then you don't have to worry. He definitely did. In fact, I got some video that I cut. So here's the kind of stuff I probably won't be doing as much when I'm monetized.
This is very Abdulish, no doubt.
That's right, but that was really short. He was bloodied. He had a fork, and he approached Hangman Page, who countered, but then Mox got a guillotine chokehold on and did this.
And Moxley pinches him. That is graphic. Oh, man, that's bad.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think, obviously the shots to the head were a lot easier to conceal, but you still got to do something as far as you got to break that blood pack. And if you're not using a blood pack, and then this happened.
San Francisco, the same after this Texas death match.
Oh man, that's disgusting. I do not like wrestling like that. Almost everybody that knows me knows that. I like blood if it's important. If it's accidental, it's no big deal because, usually that's when the wrestler gets over. That wouldn't be so big a deal except later on in the mat or the evening. Oh, shoot, that's the wrong guy. Oh, shoot, that's the wrong guy. Let me see if I can get the picture up. I don't know if I have it now. Jeez Louise, I'm such a dunce. Oh, here we go. How can I not tell the difference between one of these guys and the other? Let me just bring this up. So that was Moxley. He was bleeding all over the place. Page was bleeding all over the place. Page won. He hanged. The Hangman hanged Jon Moxley. And then in the main event with an hour-long wrestling match, it was going to be an hour regardless, so it's an Iron Man match. MJF defended the AEW belt against Bryan Danielson. And I predicted that, I thought MJF was going to, run around a boot. He did not. And there was hardly any stalling. There was almost wall-to-wall action. I thought they did a really good job. But there was a moment where MJF got corked. And it was pretty nasty. And, the thing about it is, okay, so this is supposed to be a more monumental match than something that happened third in the show. And even though it was a Texas death match, it ended on a hanging. It didn't need to have such vicious, blood work in it, especially if we're going to have a main event later on that's even more important. And here he is. Here he is. And, I just think I didn't want to see it anymore. And I was pretty sick of it. Good hour-long match, though, for sure. And then some stuff happened on Raw. We're going to get the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens versus the Usos. And, yeah, so there you go. That's your Wrestling Minute. All right. Just to let everybody know, we're going to be cracking a CGC comic in a little bit. I'm going to be railing about CGC comics and prices at comic shows. And there you can see on the bottom, that's what's going to be happening. Again, for those of you that are new here, I would like to, well, I'm sorry, not just for everybody that's new. It's like I'm such a star effer, right? Or a fan effer. This is for everybody, but I want to let you all know that this is, this comes from the heart.
We didn't come to borrow any money. We didn't come to borrow any dough. We didn't come to borrow any trouble. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh, hello to you, Mr. Benny. Please don't think that we are hammy. We just stopped in from Alabama. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh boy, you said it. We just stopped in to say hello. And don't forget it. We just stopped in to say hello. And I'm hello. Hello. Goodbye.
Hello, everyone. This is me, Yule. That's how you spell my name right there in the corner. And first up was Fantinuum, reclaiming first post status early. Convention prices for items or convention prices for entry. I think Comic-Con's entry price is fair, but people who buy things at conventions hoping to flip them are suckers. Well, that's a lot of stuff. This is a good moment for me to let everybody know that if you're interested, you can also find me at Big Blue Yule on Twitter or on Instagram. It's Filthy Burger, although I don't do too many Instagram posts. It's usually from Fantastic Comics' point of view. But when I want to be saucy or salty about comic books, or just make a quip, hopefully not being too much of a jerk, that's where I use the Big Blue Yule. And I also posted, I made a post about this, and it was interesting. Some of the conversation that occurred from it, mostly from people I mean, obviously that I know, but sometimes you get some outside people like, this is interesting. Maybe you're a sub to this show. If so, let me know if you saw this. But yeah, so you can get a little bit more information about what I was talking about, but it is about prices of items at convention. And I know it's hard to believe it's about CGC graded comic books. But I would like to talk about that. I'm also going to show you comic books that I got. They're sitting right here from the show, because that's always fun. I'm going to tell you my impressions about the show this year. Or, I mean, not this year, because I think it's bi-monthly, but it might be quarterly, something like that. But, I'm a big fan of the Berkeley Comic Show. It's all buying comics mostly. Sometimes they'll have a person on stage, signing. I think they had Dan Brereton, and they're usually localish people. But yeah, so we have a really cool comic book buying convention, and people from the East Coast and elsewhere come to this show. It's being very well attended. But and I'm not gonna necessarily talk shit about anybody, but there's a few things I want to bring up. So that's what's going to be going on. Yeah, and that's where you can find me. Next up, Jill B. Pill in the other room says hello. Illithidor is here to say evening. Let's see. Jasper Plan 9 says hello, chat, and hello, me. Yes, hello. Cheers to everybody. We're going to have a good show. I know there's a lot of different YouTube comic book shows out there. Some are going on right now. Maybe you're a fan of baseball, and oh, darn, my star fell off. Maybe you're a fan of baseball and you're going to be watching the World Classic on Fox Sports 1, FS1. Just keep us on the background. You can't understand what they're saying, and if it's FS1 announcers, you probably don't want to hear them anyway. And again, to everybody out there after the fact, hello. Let me know what you are interested in, maybe liked about the show. And if you do like the show, hit the thumb up. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. It's just comic book talk, everybody. And a little bit of entertainment talk also. All right. I'm winging it the rest of the way. So I need to get these pictures off. I need to. That's not a baseball thing. All right, let me bring these videos up. This is these are going to be the crux of some of the conversation we're going to have today. Let me see. It's right here. I knew I was going to do it this way, and I'm like, I don't know. It's a bad impression if I don't get this stuff up beforehand, but maybe I can wing it. First up, I want to talk about a trailer that came out the other day, and we're going to talk about some of the controversy behind it. And God, everything has to be controversial. Sometimes it's for obviously there's the clickbait, and there's one, there's like either the clickbait that says, haha, y'all don't like it, haha, it's great, or other people saying this is the worst thing, I can't stand this, why do I have to live? Or something like that. And I mean, I always felt like, I could be pretty demonstrative about, a lot of the BS that goes on. And, I can, like, if I really wanted to find an angle to be angry about something, I think I could do it. But it's not necessarily something, I'm as interested in. The thing that separates this show amongst all the other ones is I'm not necessarily selling you something I've got a lot of. I'm just trying to say this is something that's come out and it affects my store. Hopefully, I'm talking to my customers and a whole bunch of other people that are going to be going to other stores. These are things that I like. These are things that my customers like. And these are things that are coming out maybe you don't know anything about. And, some people, like I said, there's some stores out there that people go to, they don't have brand new comics. They only have back issues, or maybe they have a few books and they have Magic or, D&D or war miniatures and all sorts of stuff that aren't comic books. Well, I had some in my basement and I could get an account, but I think I'd rather just buy this other junk instead. T-shirts that have a Spider-Man emblem might actually just sell better than a Spider-Man comic book. And maybe you're just a trade store anyway, and you're not really selling brand new issues anymore. We, because I like them, are always going to be carrying brand new comic books. That's in the song, We every Wednesday, brand new comics, unless they change it. I'm not changing the song though. So, what was that movie that what is it? Well, this is it. Oh no, wait a second. Seth Rogen did this. Seth Rogen, if I'm not mistaken, did Preacher, which Jill and I just started watching. Well, actually, I watched the first episode while I was doing a lot of other things, and I didn't like it at all. So I said, you can go ahead and keep on watching it. Jill can let you know in the chat whether or not she's going to keep going, and maybe you can ask her some questions about it. But for me, Preacher was I get upset. Like, I understand some things adapt differently from book to movie, or stage play to movie, or comic book to movie. It's always the movie that's really fucking shit up. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the movie sucked. Now we've got it on TV, and we can tell a true interpretation of it over 10 episodes. And that sucks too, because now they needed more stuff. And that's where we've got Preacher. You're like looking at stuff beforehand, and the reveal of the characters and who they are and what they are, which was expertly done by Garth Ennis. And that's not always something I say about Garth Ennis comic books. But man, he was hitting on awesome cylinders back then. And he was doing so good with Steve Dillon on artwork, R.I.P. If you haven't ever read Preacher, as long as you can handle blasphemy, you're going to love it. Especially if you like gunplay. Gunplay, good old boys, and Southern fried killing Christians. Seth Rogen sucks.
So you were baby turtles who made contact with mystery goo.
Oh, damn. That was the last one I was supposed to show. I'm supposed to use it by the numbers. So ignore what you just saw.
Lob it up. Stay still. Come on. Stay still. Now. Oh!
I like that animation. I think it looks really good. It's hip. They're shooting little videos for TikTok or something like that. They got the sword and the ninja bit and the ninja fruit and all that stuff. Got Tribe Called Quest. I like it. They're young. They look really, really young. I always felt like the Turtles were more like teenagers or older teenagers. Well, not like 17 or 18. Yeah, I guess, yeah, whatever. It came out when I was 14, so I assumed they were like 14, and I don't feel like I was like, yeah, I got a really high-pitched voice. But I understand you're trying to youth them up, these characters, and, you know, there's a nice little in-between all the different art styles. If we're, it kind of feels a little grittier than maybe the animated cartoon in that. They still got the colored bandanas if you can't tell them apart by their weapons. So, you know, you got that stuff going on, and it's funny.
Can I kick it? What the heck are those things? They look like little Shrek.
Yeah, little Shreks. I agree. So we're gonna get haha in it. I expect that from a Turtles property. They were brash in the comic book.
Our whole lives for this. Can I kick it?
Oh my God!
Oh my! I'm gonna be sick.
Leo, what happened? Is Donnie bleeding? It was an accident.
It's still in his leg. And then you saw the last one I was going to show you. That's the one that got everybody up in arms. So everybody pretty much is like, all right, the animation's cool. And, you know, I'll forgive Seth Rogen all his atrocities prior to this or whatever. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm jazzed. I assume I can be an adult and go see this and feel good about it. Or thankfully, I have a kid to go and take this to, and I'm not going to be upset with the things that they show them, you know, in this. So, you know, you got that going for you. And then April.
So you were baby turtles who made contact with mystery goo.
Now, thankfully, most people weren't upset with the fact that she is a black youth. But that she's, you know, kind of tubby, and that they like the old April. So, you know, they want the, you know, the redheaded one from the cartoons. So then everybody shows pictures of like issue 10 of Turtles. I don't think I have it over here, out at least, where April is, you know, it's a black and white comic book, everybody. There's different shading for characters, but yeah, I think for the most part, she was, you know, just a tanned white woman at best with curly hair. And, you know, people are making fun that people are finding out that white people in the 80s had curly hair, and I don't know, all this other stuff. But, you know, it calls into a question things like Velma and how the HBO series that, let me see what picture I got. This is, Velma, and they compare Velma to April O'Neil. So, you know, you remember Velma. She was that really nerdy, but super kind of cute alternative to Daphne. But maybe you haven't seen this HBO Max program where Velma's the lead and all the other characters are different, at least somewhat. And there's a big old long mystery that's going on, and she sees dead people. And, you know, I'm making it sound probably a lot better than it actually is. It was funny because like halfway through, and Jill had no idea about any of this program. I just said, hey, let's watch this. Like almost immediately they did like a joke that, you know, was all about, I forget, it was like some sort of like, you know, representation, which, you know, can be funny, but when you're first leading off with it and you've already changed, you know, you know, you have significant looks and differences in, you know, characters, you know, playing off something like that as the first joke is probably, you know, you're not endearing yourself anymore. You're like piling on is really what it seems like. But, you know, we've got an April O'Neil, and people are all upset about that. So what do you guys think out there in the chat? Is it horrible? Can you not handle it? Or do you think, like, you know, maybe in a Velma situation, yes, then that was a good alternative to Daphne, but maybe a dumpy, darker complexion, snottier, jerk face Velma is the way to go. I got renewed for a second season because enough people hate watched it. I can't even say I hate watched it. I just wanted to know. And when we even watched the second episode, and Jill was like, why are we watching this one? But halfway through the first episode, she's like, there's no Scooby in this. And that's really what I think when I get upset about things. It's more along the lines that, look, you're using this property that you could have easily just made as an archetype, which probably came from an archetype, you know, like big, strong man that rules the world, you know, or you know, that is the savior of everybody. Is not an uncommon story. So if you want to emasculate a big, strong hero, you don't have to call it Eternia. You can call it Maternia. I don't care. You know, just don't call it He-Man. Just call it, you know, something else. Like, it's hard to come up with something, man. Seriously. And then you can introduce all the, but you don't have all those expectations that you're going to twist on your ear. You're going to Ryan Johnson it up on Star Wars. And ooh, how exciting that you fucked up these characters that I just wanted to see more of the same, you know? That's the reason why you do something like that. That's why you bring up these properties. You want to get those old people to care, or you know enough new people know the old stuff because it's been in the lexicon for so long that you think like, oh man, maybe it was a better idea when Shaggy was a dope smoking fiend with his dog amongst people that were smoking at that time, rather than seeing an actual representation of it on screen. You know, that's maybe not the way to go. And even though you want to make a bitch, it sounds like a good idea to make a bitchy Velma or a fat April O'Neil. Maybe just know you're changing enough. Or why are you even, I mean, I know because Nickelodeon's still a company and they own the rights to the Turtles. So they're going to rinse and repeat and rewash and whatever is the flavor of the day, just as long as those freaking turtles are turtles. That's all I care about. But also today, I saw people bitching about this. Can you tell me what's missing, anybody? That's right. I'm going to go to chat while I leave this up. And like I've said before, guys, if you are a fan of something and it gets optioned to be probably anything, okay? Expect to be disappointed no matter what. I, as a fan, as a person who is not a fan of Transformers, can laugh at the people that came back from the first Michael Bay movie saying that it was really weak on story. Because you're talking about Transformers as if it was ever strong in story. Now, I never really read the comic books or anything like that, but can you tell me who really has? So if you're like going, oh man, those cartoons. I remember there were a couple of really good cartoons out there, and it was not a Transformers episode. The movie was pretty cool though. Improbi. What was your reaction to the news that Diamond Distribution overcharging store owners on the comics they received for the past 2 decades? You're probably talking about a Thinking Critical video that came out not too long ago today. I watched it. I think Doc and Wes did a very good job as far as breaking down and making a very nice conversation about it without me as a store owner having to say anything. Like, I thought they represented a store pretty well. I did talk about it last week. So last week I'm only gonna allude to this. Diamond Comics did such a good job for UPS. The UPS gave them something, and I talked about it last episode. So I'm very rare, and it's up. I was taken down for a little bit for one of the videos that I showed, and Viacom's a mean one. Oh yeah, I wanted to let you know about different comic. Well, it's not even comic. These are YouTube shows. I've put a bunch of different things up there. A lot more recently have been role-playing game related ones. But of course, I love my comics by Perch, Cartoonist Kayfabe, Thinking Critical, and on and on and on. But Thinking Critical talked about Diamond overcharging. We knew it. There's not much you could do when they were the only people that you were going through. It kind of, and I, like I said, I'm not really the sharpest stick when it comes to all the math that I need to. I need to keep it pretty simple. But I do see the numbers that Diamond charges us for, or UPS charges Diamond, and hearing that they got a boon from Diamond got a boon from UPS is like very telling. And it was very telling when Penguin Random House shipped for free with a smaller discount than Diamond. But that discount that I got is not as good as the free shipping, and I can keep my numbers tight, and then I can reorder something and not have to worry about shipping. The worst thing about that is I can just keep ordering. And Lunar packages stuff very well, and Diamond does not. And Lunar even negotiated between FedEx to UPS to back to FedEx for me. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. So, Diamond has been really late in responding. And only now are they doing this, and it was, again, thinking critical, they were saying, thank goodness for DC moving over to Lunar and getting the ball rolling on everything. And there were stores out there and people that were, pretty much, sticking their flag in the sand for Diamond. Image Comics, they renewed with them. Brian Hibbs was really big on saying how fucked up it was that DC did this. And I mean, really said that, like, 1,000 plagues or something like that on them. And Brian Hibbs is a cool dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Brian. I think he's done a lot of good things for the comic book industry, but a lot of what he does is also muckraking. And I mean, for owners, we wouldn't have FOC without him. And, there was even stores that made money off of Marvel screwing the pooch and, basically misleading us on what we were ordering at the time. Not me as a store, because that was before my time. So, Brian Hibbs, but I mean, I don't think that was the one to, I don't think that was the one to like go crazy on. So, and it just, man, I feel like anybody that is like 100% behind Diamond has something to gain. And the fact that they're going to cut 40% of shipping, and Boom on top of it is going to add another 2% of anything that you order at Boom's. So, that's smart on Boom's part. But, they could have done that before too. They're rich people, whether the comics sell or not. I don't know what. Oh no, did I miss something? Oh yeah, you got it. Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen is one of the producers of The Boys and Invincible, Illithidor says. Well, a lot of people like Invincible and The Boys. Garth Ennis, not my favorite thing is The Boys. Most of his war comics in The Boys are not my favorite. He gets into the toilet humor a little too much. And the beginning of The Boys was really cool when, Stewie gets his girlfriend's arms ripped off and, he meets the shitheads that are, he's going against and all that stuff. But I heard they really play into I didn't keep reading it. And also I hear the show. I don't know if see, even Ennis on Preacher, my most least favorite storyline on that is Salvation, except when it was in smaller trades and you had to buy a trade that was called Salvation and read the whole thing to get to the next one. And you realize you just wasted all your freaking time. And on top of it, it's one of those, this is a former concentration camp guy hiding and living a very nice life afterwards, like a community stalwart and a really good person. And, Jesse has to come and take care of it. And I just really can't stand the fetishization of it from people that love and then the people that purportedly hate World War II villains. So I'm personally have been done with that for a long, long time. And I just don't really like to see it anymore in my fiction. Like and I definitely don't like to see it when it's like altered history shit. Like, oh, what if they won? Well, that's fetishization even farther. Although I do love me some Justice Society. So, I'm a conundrum. What can I say? A hypocrite. No one can really attack TMNT movies. What am I going to say? Why aren't they good like Secret of the Ooze? Exactly. Although the first one was definitely a whole lot more like the original comic books, of course. But it was lame in parts. Jasper says, I don't know how much input Rogan has on these projects. I think he's just snatching up these IPs before someone else does. Well, he has an ear towards the Garth Ennis ones, obviously. Is there a Garth Ennis one out there that isn't owned by DC that he should try and get his hands on? Again, I would not personally want to see any of the World War II stuff. Unless you're talking about when he's doing like Fury, and an established character from that time period, and if you want to tell a really cool story with that, I think Garth Ennis is always the guy for that. She has a yellow jacket and red hair. Get over it. Yeah, and body positivity rules. So, does anybody guess that Captain Kirk ain't on this thing? No William Shatner? That's pretty crazy when you're like Paramount. We're celebrating Star Trek. How can you do that and not celebrate? I mean, it even looks like it's an even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I guess not. It's the lady in the middle. Man, is she? I mean, should Uhura be there then? Seriously? Or really seriously, does anybody like the Scott Bakula or know who this purple lady is? Or what about 7 of 5? Is that what her name is? She wasn't a captain. I mean, Jesus. For instead of Kirk, even Chekhov was like had in a starship at one time. Well, not a star. I don't know what they are. I'm not a Star Trek class guy. Well, let's see here. Jasper says, you're in chartered waters, Jewel. Stick to comics talk. I do this every now and then. I just wanted to have fun and keep it with you. Because personally, I'm a really, really big Scooby-Doo fan. And I love that cartoon growing up. It was like, superhero cartoons and Scooby-Doo. And I like the wannabe like Beatles songs and everything like that. And, I became, a stoner dude and whatnot. And, I thought Shaggy, obviously with the amount of food that those guys were consuming, there must be some crazy stuff going on in the back of that truck. But, that's more like Fast Times. And although I always would have loved to have seen a really real take on Scooby-Doo, and in a way, the Velma cartoon kind of sort of gives me what I want, but I wanted the characters to still play in their roles. Maybe a little adult versions of a pup named Scooby-Doo. So you still have the dog, you're still searching out mysteries, but the mysteries are possibly somebody that's behind everything, more than likely behind something. But they were a little bit more extravagant than a 22-minute cartoon can provide, or even a cartoon would provide normally, especially back in the day. Okay, this is an important question to everybody out there, especially to the people after the fact. Let me know in the comments down below, and then there might be a part 2 to this one. Is the Mystery Machine Shaggy's van or is it Fred's van? You can put any kind of thing on it you want, like, Shaggy being a big old dope head and Fred being a big old control freak. But yeah, whose van is that? Whose is the Mystery Machine? And not only that, I mean, I say I'm like a really super big fan, but that might even have already been discussed in one of the prior episodes or something that I don't know of. And yeah, Jill's selling her you can read it. I'm not going to give any highlight to it enough. Some of these Believe It IPs are irreparably damaged, if anything, just from a merchandising standpoint. Well, merchandising standpoint. Merchandising is a thing. Marvel has had no problem with their Sentinel and Galactus crowdfunded stuff. Star Wars has done some really good crowdfunded stuff. And then there's been other ones from IPs that you think would have done very well. But I think for the most part, it just has to depend on the collector and how much, goodwill is still ingrained in them. And really, truthfully, how much social media plays a factor into it. I feel like there are times when there's a lot of people on Twitter that are paying attention to stuff, But then there's a lot of times there are more people paying, and you'd be surprised because if you just watch the Fantastic Comics Presents channel, you wouldn't know that there's a lot of people out there watching comic book shows or whatever kind of shows out there that are a little bit more pop culture, but it can be a lot more than people that are on, Twitter, and it could be something as, big as like, oh geez, is the ninja guy still a big deal? But I think that might be Twitch now. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Going back. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Namua new likeness isn't selling. And why would it? I mean, there's a lot of what is he supposed to be, like Aztecian or something like that? I don't know. It fine, whatever. But again, it's like, who are you trying to, like, all right, we're gonna do Khazar or Khazar, like I like to call, like I called him all my life. We're gonna do Khazar. And you put him in a suit and a tie and in the city instead of the jungle. Or maybe like half of that movie, it's gonna be in the jungle, but you have to get there from the suit. And it's like, man, you're asking a lot of me right from the beginning. Or, he never puts on that loincloth. I really wanted to see that dude in a loincloth. Or there's no Tyrannosaurus Rex or anything like that. It's like, why would you do that? I'm saying that because I'm wearing a Khazar shirt right now. There's no Sabu. Or Sabu's not going to be a saber-toothed tiger. He's going to be his horse. No. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It would be horrible. Just horrible. We're going to talk about in a few minutes my comic show experience. And I'm going to show you I'm going to show you a couple things. So hang on, and then we're going to crack a slab as during that whole bit. So it's going to be a big old thing. But first, and we're going to try and ignore this person for the most part. Now, this didn't work the first time I did it, so we're going to try this one this time.
Why? You couldn't even pitch one inning. What's your name?
Yeah, see, it didn't work. Let's see if it works now.
Why? You couldn't even pitch one inning.
That sucks. Anyway, welcoming TMCM Mug Spin to Win. So here we have it looks like Mark. Let's get you big sized. It looks like we have Beck. Oh my gosh, who is HH? Steve, Christine, and Mark. The TMCM, the Too Much Coffee Man mug, spin to win. So these 5 people here are going to, I assume, be winning the Too Much Coffee Man mug spin to win. Am I right? You can maybe like put that in the chat or something like that. And here we go. Oh my goodness gracious. No sound, but that's okay. All right, Beck. All the way from sunny Southern California, Beck. I did not know that Beck was a member of the audience. I don't care if one of the 15 people is Beck. I'm totally okay with that. And if that's the case, hey, Beck, can I borrow some of your music for the show without getting copyright claimed? I'm really close to being monetized, and getting your support would probably push me way over the edge. And I've been listening to you from the beginning. Yes, Beck, way to go. Bravo. All right, that's excellent. So happy. All right. Well, when they come back with something else, I'll do that. Almost never see Namor merch prior to the movie, and it's not like you can maintain a solo book. No, exactly. I mean, if you were doing a Marvel Legends line of Fantastic Four characters, Namua would be, you'd probably go the Fantastic Four, probably 6. Go Namor and Doctor Doom, because Namor is sometimes a villain. Sounds perfectly reasonable. If you're going to do set 5, maybe you have something really good and then have an Alicia and a Puppet Master double set or something like that. But these are not the characters that are going to sell very well all the time. All right. Let's go back to, let's go to subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Did you know that Fantastic Comics has a Patreon page? You don't want to be like George Costanza.
My last name is Costanza. That's Italian. So you and I are kind of like countrymen. Yeah?
God damn it. All right. Nothing's going to work the rest of the night, I can tell. It was the TMNT. It's just too much video lag, I guess. I don't know. Let me do it one more time. You don't want to be like George Costanza.
My last name is Costanza.
Nah, it sucks. He puts the money in, dude doesn't see. But you see, I see it if you're a Patreon member. But that's awesome. Maybe you're like a really big, fan of this show. Fan of the store. Just a fan of Yule in life. Maybe we know each other and you just want to oh man, this guy really needs some help. Give me something to know the Patreon. I don't promise you anything and you're not going to get much, but I always say I'm going to do something. And I promise it's going to happen. But your funds have helped the store, have helped the show, and are probably going to help a young comic creator in the near future. I'm trying to push them to do something, and it'll probably need to be financially backed. But I mean, wouldn't you like to be a part of that? So be part of our Patreon, and I know I'm going to work on that one for you guys. So, I went to the Berkeley Comic Show this week, and I love the Berkeley Comic Show. It is comic books. You go to buy stuff that, comic shows are always so great because people are bringing their wares, and some people from different parts of the country still have things or realize they have something that people around here might want. And then, of course, there's your, normal go-tos that people will have, your Avenger 4s, usually in slabs, your Amazing Spider-Man 121, 122s, usually in slabs, your EC Comics, maybe, if you're lucky enough to get pre-code horror in slabs. But I don't usually buy things in slabs. In fact, that's the reason why we do the Crack the Slab. Oh, man, that video is not going to work. So I bought some books this week. I have a nice little 3D collection. You got to get your 3D glasses, people, because I realized that if I put a photographed picture, from my phone on the computer in 3D, that we can all put on our 3D glasses while we watch the show, and we can read a 3D comic together. Wouldn't that be awesome? Definitely a thumbs up if you're interested in a show like that, because I've got some really fun, trippy material. Maybe we'll all do drop some acid or something. Wouldn't that be great? All right, maybe not that part, but we could do a couple microdoses or something. Get it going. I think that'd be great. Even without, because I'm a real big 3D fan. It was really popular in the 80s, taking old materials. And man, let me tell you, this Sheena has some really damn good pages. And what I love about the 3D is all the different levels that you get. But even more importantly, look at this awesome Dave Stevens cover. Dave Stevens, R.I.P. He was a drunk. Dying early and drinking. Cheers. 1 beer a week. I do it with you guys. What else did I buy? So I bought that for $3. I bought a comic book for Jill. It was again, if you follow Fantastic Comics on Instagram, I posted it. And it's an Archie cover. It's a Bob Montana cover. It's an annual, so it's really thick. It's not complete. Some of the page is falling out, but it's just really great. And the cover, it's just that nice 1950s hairstyle that was prevalent in all those really great Archies that people are paying a lot of money for. $3. So for $6, I got those 2 books. I didn't talk the guy down. I probably can 5. Can we do 5? But I don't usually do that as a store owner. I just don't like to haggle too often. From a place that I bought a comic from, I also bought this comic. It's a Hulk magazine right here. I wish I would have bought the following issue. This is number 4. The cool thing about this is these are Hulk stories in black and white. And the reason why I wish I would have got the other issue also, is because this is, I think, written also, but definitely drawn by Jim Starlin. And although I have an Essential Rampaging Hulk Volume 2, I don't think these stories would be in it. If you get later issues, it's pretty much, it's Bill Sienkiewicz's first work on Moon Knight, or his first work at Marvel even. But this has who else is in this one? We've got, John Warner, Val Mayerick, and Sonny Trinidad from from Oblivion, whatever that is. And that's this one here. And I got that for $20. Okay. And I got a couple others. So I went to the con this time with 2 goals, or 3 goals. I wanted to buy an expensive comic book, but what I wanted to buy was X-Men 121, which I don't have, or a better condition 122. That was the important thing. And that was one thing. Spider-Man, I wanted to get anywhere from 162 to 168 because I'm collecting issues 151 to 251. Most of those are comics surrounding the area that I would have bought when I was a kid, or did buy, because some of them I still have. And I got all the other, I just want to fill that in. A nice 100 issue run of 151 to 251. Then we'll worry about the other stuff, even though I have a plethora of Spider-Man comics. Or if I couldn't get 162 to 168, I wanted to buy either the first Hydro Man issue or the first Madam Web. And I got a first Madam Web. It's got a lot of dings on the spine, and I think there's a couple color breaks. I think at best this would be a VF. But I'm happy. It's definitely, I would want one a little bit more. But with the prices that these can command, some guy had a CGC slabbed 8.5, and I looked at it, and it was like it had discoloring on the back, and it was more than foxing. And usually, I don't know if it was a stain, but CGC can be hard on the grade when it comes to that. So, here we have another instance where I'm not really fond of CGC's grading. So I got this damaged one and said, I'll press it and see if I can get a little bit of it out. Most of the dings are in the back. I love this issue, and it's first John Romita Jr. as regular artist, maybe ever. Now here's the part where I call this Carney Comics, okay? I often will compare things to wrestling. And the thing that I'm associated with the most in life, other than watching wrestling and knowing about wrestling, that's carny, is comic books, whether it be the people producing the comic books, the people creating the comic books, the distributors distributing the comics, or the people reading the comics, the stores selling the comics. It can be, I don't like working cons. And I don't like working cons because I don't like dealing with the people that way. It's a very, deal making. I like setting a price, and if you have to make a deal, we'll go down from my price. But I don't like cons. I like being at a con. I usually try to be very respectful to the prices that people put down. I just illustrated, I paid the full price, the full 100 for this book that probably in Guide was like $80. But you can't trust Guide all the time. And Guide's just a guide. So you don't always have to follow it. But I was looking for X-Men number 121. And not a lot of people had it. And it's not even the first appearance of Alpha Flight. It's not the first appearance of the Guardian character. It is just it's just an Alpha. It's the second Alpha Flight, right? And maybe like the first cover appearance of with the characters. But, it's a special issue. It's a John Byrne, Chris Claremont issue. It's an important issue because it's those guys working on it. But it's not an issue that I should get sticker shock when I see it. Okay. So what did I see? Obviously, I'm looking for raw comic books at best. The only time I'm looking for CGC is when I can get it at a deal, or when I'm ordering it from somebody that I can't trust, or it's just the only way to get it. It's just the only way to get it. So for the most part, if a Madam Web first appearance looks better than this, it's going to be slabbed. Which brings me to my first problem with the show. I went to a table and I saw this. Okay, let me take that banner down. Amazing Spider-Man 106, 112, 113, 125 through 128, 131. If you look at these grades, they're 2.0, 4.0, 5.0, 4.0, 3.0, 4.5. These are not key issues. This isn't even a 121. This isn't even me bitching about 121 being too pricey. These are lessers than that. 129 is the first Punisher. That's important. 121, 122, the death of Gwen Stacy, the death of the Green Goblin, the prior issues, 119, 120, Hulk on the cover. Those are important issues, but not so important where you need to be getting them graded at a 5.0. You and I all know in a shitty comic book, we're looking at a shitty comic book. You know what I mean? It's when it's hard to parse the difference between a 7, a 7.5, an 8, a 9.4, to a 9.6. When you're trying, it's not even a high grade. We know when something is really good. We know when something is really bad. Oh my gosh, the pages aren't falling out. It's a 4 or a 5. If it's a 5, if you don't want to throw up when you look at the cover, it's a 5. If you kind of want to throw up, but it's still together, that's a 4. You don't need to get these graded. So if this is a comic store getting these graded, don't you trust yourself to be able to grade a 5.0? And if this is a fan or somebody selling it online, you're not going to really get more money. You should not get more money for these things. There should not be a hot bid fest for your overpriced Amazing Spider-Man 126 in a 3.0 condition. If these were unloaded on a store and you're selling to me, I'm not giving you hardly anything for this. Because a guy like me is just going to break these open and try and fix it anyway. And if it's not fixable, it's never going to sell. It should never sell. And you've done yourself a disservice because these are awesome comics that you should be reading. Or at least letting somebody else read. Jeez. We have this fetishized view of comics, and we can't damage them, or we can't have something that's not in mint condition. And if it comes in mint condition, then I can't ever look at it. The red comic book collection that is still in very, very, and I'm not using book terms, very good condition is awesome to me. Way more awesome than something that's never been touched. If you didn't get your fingerprints on that Moon Knight with the Werewolf by Night cover, with the blood dripping on the crescent moon, and you didn't get your fingerprints on it, but you still read that even though you were eating pizza that night, awesome. You didn't break the spine, awesome. And you read it, nothing cooler. I know that there's other ways to read comic books, so maybe the person buys it digitally after the fact. But I'm just, I think going out and grading these comics is less and less important. And when you hear me tell you how much X-Men number 121, it was staring at me, the only place I could find it, and it was a 9.4 CGC, and I'm like, yeah, 9.4 doesn't necessarily mean something. I had that Spider-Man that was really upsetting. I think it was the second Madam Web issue, or at least her face was on the cover in a little bullet hole. In guide, raw, 9.2, X-Men number 121. It's the first full Alpha Flight story. So they're barely in the first issue in 120. And then this is the first full issue. So it is important. But as you can see, the issue prior to it is 350 and 9.2. But in 121 and a 9.2, it's $275. That's a near mint minus. Now I'm going to get that off the screen so it's less boring for you. But a near mint minus is a 9.2, and I was looking at a 9.4. So I actually went to Twitter after all this stuff happened, and I asked, what people thought the price should be. And one of my customers, Talkin' Soul, and one of my sometimes aficionado mates, Doc, responded to it. And Doc had a nice little formula. And he says, generally, 9.2 to 9.4 yields a 50 to 75% increase. Okay. 9.4 to 9.6 goes a 75 to 90% increase. And a 9.6 to a 9.8 goes an 85 to 100% increase. And there's like a 20 to 40% slab premium over the Overstreet raw price. Okay, so all right. So we're probably looking at a $600 book, maybe $800. Okay, if you're going by that formula. I got that book down, and even though I saw it, I said 160 out loud. And it was almost, maybe I meant to make that person stop and say, no, it's $1,600, because it was bullshit that's a $1,600 book. I don't care if one person, two people, or three people overbought over on freaking eBay. That is not a $1,600 book. It'll never be a $1,600 book, and it will never be a $1,600 book in 9.4 grading. And let me ask you, and I had a very good Instagram post for Fantastic Comics by somebody that came in after the comic show. They said the only thing they bought was at my store, even though they went to the comic show. They said the prices were ridiculous. And I said, this is not that price to that person. I might have said an F word. I don't think I did. But I was like, this is bullshit. This is a bullshit fucking price. $1,600 for this book. I'm like, I did not know at the time that this book was $275. The price guide this last year that came out has been one of the most large changing increases in prices from one year to the last in a long time, probably ever. If you want good prices that are guide prices for Spawn, see, the reason why they're lower is because the guide, it will fluctuate. You'll see something in guide and somebody will say, okay, this is a $300 book. And then someone will say, well, I want to sell it for $350. And someone will buy it for $350. Well, in another part of town, there might be a lot of those comic books, and $350 is not going to sell that. $300 might not be able to sell it. You might have to have a 20% off sale that day in order to move those books, even though you've got a lot of them. Sometimes you can price yourself out of the sale, and sometimes when you slab them, you put such a high expectation on what this book should get, it's unrealistic. Do you as a store buy it at the price that when you're selling something for $1,600? Let's say it was a new comic book that cost $10. You'd pay $5 for it. Okay? Maybe you have a better discount, so it's $4.50, $4. We don't buy back issues at 40% ever. What the hell? Unless I can sell it the very next day, that would be the difference. Oh, wow, this person has a Detective 27. I'll clean this shit up. I'll go out and I'll sell it immediately. Or I'll be throwing money away if I don't slab it and let people bid on it, depending on what the grade is, because they're going to get themselves in such a frenzy for it that they'll overspend for it, which is okay when you're doing it that way. But when you're pricing it so high, do you think that's cool? Do you think when you go into the X-Men 121 is not going to make or break your trip? And if it is, I really question whether or not any of the other shit you have is worthwhile. Having said that, I couldn't find it anywhere else. I was wrong. I went to another place right after that. Pest. I was telling Tim, the guy at the gate of Berkeley Comic Show, I'm all, how much do you think that is in a 9.4? And he had a high price, but he didn't even hit a K. X-Men 121. I figure this is at least a VFNM. And I paid a bunch of money for it. I paid more than a 9.2, well, actually, did I? What did I say it was? I think I paid less. I think I paid right on what it could have been. Let's see. VFNM is an 8. I did have to press it up to that. So 179. Oh, no. VFNM is a 179. So I paid a little over. There's nothing wrong with paying over. If this was a $300 book, if this was $400 in better condition, then you have to really think about whether or not, I'm like, God, I don't know if I should spend $400 on a comic book. But when you see, unless that person at 1,600 was working with the guy over at the other stand, there's no reason for that. And it was very upsetting. And I don't like to haggle. I'm like, where do you haggle from 1,600 when you're like, this shouldn't even be a $400 book, I'm not going down to $600. I'm definitely, I'm done at $4. For fucking X-Men 121, you're crazy. They printed so many of these books. There's so many of these 40-cent books out there. When I told my employees that didn't know anything about comic books, I said 40 cents or before, 40 cents or lesser, just so that they didn't have to worry about whether or not they were buying a shit ton of Youngbloods off somebody. 40 cents or less. If the cover says 40 cents or less, we want it. That's just like a catch-all for everything. But man, I was flipping out. So, and that's the reason why I buy Raw. The only time I don't buy Raw is when I buy online. And, sometimes it's just the only way you can. If you buy from short boxed, I mean, I think everything is slabbed. The cool thing is that the person sets the price, and then often they will go down on and stuff too, and you can deal with them. But other times not quite so. All right, let's see if this works. All right, we're going to crack the slab right now, guys. Let me stand up. Oh, yeah. Local brewery in San Leandro, Denogonizer. It's Drake's Denogonizer. We're going to be taking out of commission, off the grid, Spider-Man number 97. This is the second issue of the infamous drug issues that do not have the Comics Code Authority anywhere on the cover, even though they have like this presidential council or whatever, and they wanted to do like a thing about, the dangers of drugs, and Stanley's like, yeah, let's do it. It didn't pass muster with the Comics Code Authority. The Comics Code Authority was onerous. It also was responsible for, basically EC going out of business and, comics being stale for like a long time, especially when it was probably dealing with DC ones. Marvel came in and, they were able to soup everything up. But even still, this didn't happen very often. All right, here we go. All right, that didn't do much there. Let's see if I can get another one. There'll be another loud bang. A bang. That was bad. All right, let's get this right here. Oh, this is a tough one. All right, let's try the other side. Oh, here we go. What's this? This actually has... Yeah, I'm not getting it on the seam. Oh, here we go. Have I said that already? Here we go. This is the exciting point of the show because, I could fail at this. I'd be really embarrassed, but I didn't. I got it. Hooray. Book though. All right, here we go. I know, I saw that too. I was like, oh no, don't do that. All right, cool. There you go. It's in its sleeve, so it's still protected. But I'm going to take that out too eventually. And another comic book from CGC is off the grid. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into the show. We're going to talk about some new comic books in just a few moments. Let me just take this plastic stuff. Now, if I was John Moxley, I'd be bleeding from having done this, But Unlike AEW, I wouldn't have another blood spot. So Doc said that he thought that, let me see how he said it right here. As far as that comic is concerned, he said the Overstreet raw on a lot of books. So $600 slab 9.4 would be the high end of reasonable. 1,400 is laughable. And what he forgot while he was typing that, or maybe he mistyped, was that it was $1,600. The high end of reasonable was $600. I gotta live in one of these. Well, that's the problem. Yeah, maybe it's just being in California and taxes and all that other stuff. But man, Florida and all those other, New York and other places seem to get so many awesome freaking comic book buys. The Carolinas, I hear, are a big deal right now. And man, it's just, I'm so jealous a lot of the time, but oh well. That drug issue, by the way, this is how I read comics. I told you I was going to. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I had one other comic book. I got this Hulk annual. This was $10. I didn't barter at all. And where are you going to go from $10, right? But this is where I read the drug issues when I was a kid. Right here, you get this really cool pill scene. Probably one of the reasons why I love Gil Kane so much, these issues. Other Spidey books that I would read were like this. That's how I read the old issues. Look how small that is. I would also draw comic books in this size, do little Doc Ock stories. My art was like pathetic and it never got better. That's why I don't hate AI quite like some people do. If I could have had something like that could like formulate my thought in picture, I might have like continued farther as a comic book writer or something. Maybe it would have given me skills that would have like presented me something that, I didn't have at the time. And maybe my Spidey stories would have been better than what's going on right now. Although we're going to be talking about some new comic books now. Woo! I don't have a video for that can stall on us. I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to go to comments really quick. Thank you very much for that sweet 3D Jungle Boobs book. I totally agree. Yeah, why even slab them? And if you're talking about the lower rated ones, I mean, it's one thing if you're doing, like I said, the Golden Age, the Romance, the early Archies that are falling apart because some kids were, But if you're just doing regular Spider-Mans from like the one, Jesus, they printed a lot of books back then. And a lot got destroyed, but the circulation was pretty powerful back then. So even like early Bronze Age stuff shouldn't be as ridiculously high as it is. But, FOMO, these internet people that are driving up the prices of comic books by getting people, again, that FOMO. And then all the movie first appearances, TV first appearances, and people being ridiculous thinking that Darkhawk is worth the shit. Give me a break. The market is softening up due to the economy and hero fatigue, Jasper says. It's becoming more of a buyer's market. Without a doubt, it's becoming more of a buyer's market. That's one of the reasons why I was very shocked at that $1,600 price tag. I thought it was unrealistic and it was kind of gougy. And, it just, frick, man, am I so stupid an owner that I'm not charging the extra $200 or $300? Am I making somebody happy at my expense? I'm trying to extol the virtues, I'm trying to, I joke about the reverend thing, this.
He's all right. 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 He's all right.
He's all right. That's right. I'm here to enlighten. I'm trying to be here to share my love of comic books with you so that you can not only find things that you didn't know to love, reasons to love, and reasons to laugh at the things that people hate, but maybe you like, or maybe don't like, but you can see the beauty in it nonetheless. And you get something from comics that the Hollywood movies can't even give you. They're always going to mess it up. There is a certain type of storytelling. They're always going to mess it up. Always. You know, maybe mysteries. Those seem to do pretty good. The mysteries seem to be working really well for TV and movies, especially if it's British. I think movies are better if they're original scripts. I just do. It's nice. There was a good time, when like Dragnet came out as a movie, or MASH was a movie, then became a television show. And, it found its voice, and it was excellent television ultimately. But I think those days are gone. It's just rinse and repeat and recycle and maybe change and tweak and irritate, and nobody likes anything ultimately, and we'll just renew it for another season anyway. But how do I mean, I don't know if I'm necessarily say it's tough running a comic book store and having to care about money when you just want to share stuff with people. But man, $1,600 for something that was like $300, maybe $500, $600 if you agree with Doc at the most, for a 9.4. Not even that great a condition because I've sent one back. That's the carny aspect of comics. I went to a comic book store and Nexus was just starting up and it was getting hot. And I heard the comic book store owner tell his employee to pull the Nexus #1s off the rack. This was in the 80s. Okay. There was no Comic Tom 101 telling you to worry about Nexus. That same guy who owned the comic store that my father and I went to and bought a shit ton of stuff because Comic Heaven was no more. They moved. And we couldn't go there anymore because they moved to another state. So we went to California Comics. And California Comics got a week early the magazine edition of, I think it was Return of the Jedi. And he pulled the same number of comics that my father would have bought because he had a standing, #1 type thing. And he wanted to sell them to him a week earlier at an increased cost because, everybody cared. And it got to us, early than it was supposed to. And this was my lesson I learned from my father. He's all, fuck you. And we left and never went back. My dad wouldn't have cursed like that. But I was like, what? I don't understand. And my dad let me know in the car. He's like, that's some bullshit. And that's how I feel about that. So let's manifest less greed in comic books, whether it be the comic book publisher and all the variant covers at ridiculous incentive rates that only cost comic stores money and only allows ones that have money to make money. Let us all share in the benefits and reap the rewards of a good foot being put forward, and comic companies actually paying their employees, and comic employees not having to take on extra work, which slows the progress and dilutes the product that they're putting out anyway. Jed McKay doesn't have to write everything. Maybe Donny Cates wouldn't have lost his brain if he didn't have to. So give these people a little extra money, and give them money and assure them that they can get something for their creation. Get some t-shirt royalties and share it between artist and writer and letterer, but not colorist, equally. No. Oh, what? No, not the letterer. The artist says. And then all of a sudden, the artist is the fucking jerkiest person there is. And then the writer says, well, you didn't even have the idea for this thing if I didn't write it. New comic books, everybody. Dun, 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 dun. Camera off. All right, we're going to go through these really quick. As quick as I can bring them up. Because I don't have them ready yet. Here we go. Let's see. Let's get this out. I got variant covers for y'all to see too. There's a few that I think are really good. Okay, so just take a second. First up, we've got, speaking of variant covers, we've got Batman number 133 by, oh my God, I almost said James Tynion. Chip Zdarsky and Matt Hawthorne. This is the Art Germ variant. Do you care when Art Germ does something that isn't a woman? Here's the main cover. I've heard this is a really good series right now, but for any of you that know, I have, for my New Year's resolution, quit reading Batman for the entire year. Next up, we have The Flash, one of the Yule club books where if you buy them all, have them put on your hold list, and are caught up on the reading when I talk to you about it, you're going to get $5 at the end of this storyline. Got a few more issues to go. This is part 5. If you are not caught up, you have a chance to become caught up. That will be in, let's see, just a moment. We'll bring that up in just a moment. I'll let you know how. Oh, here's how. Flash, 1 Minute War, Start the Clock. This has the first three issues, which takes you up to 192. And then I also have 193. So you can get back in the game at, I'm sorry, guys, in a reduced rate. But this is the only way to get those issues because they've sold out. And it's been really good and fun and fast-paced. And I enjoy the Flash family. It's nice to see Impulse doing well. Spider-Man number 21 comes out. This is the story arc you've been waiting for. What happened? That everybody hates Peter Parker, that everybody hates Spider-Man. And they might not know each other, that they're the same. What happened that MJ and Spidey aren't around and she has a dude and they have kids? This actually talks about prior issues. And I'm enjoying the very first issue of this storyline. There's action, and then obviously it takes you back in time. So I think if you knew that this story was going to happen, if you've been there from the beginning, you're finally getting that story after all this time. We do know that we're going to have to travel back in time to get a lot of what happened. So I'm not going to be poo-pooing this like I would that normal type of story. I just hate it when Spidey talks to me. And I don't think he did in this issue, so aces. Next up, we have Moon Knight number 21. Jed McKay, Marvel's most prolific writer right now. I've got a lot of customers that like it, and you should pick it up at your store or my store, depending on where you are. X-Men number 20, the only X-Men book that I am regularly reading. It's by Jerry Duggan. And, is it Joshua Casella doing the art? I forget. It doesn't really matter. It's been looking really good, and it's a Brood storyline, and Captain Marvel's loosely involved. And there's a variant cover. Oh, and Alex Ross, and more villain variant is what's going on right now. Next up, we have Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, number 66. Jason Aaron's run is nearing its completion. It's going to end, and there's going to be a new number 1. I'll give you one guess who the writer is going to be on that, just on what I've told you so far tonight. I've been enjoying this. I enjoy Aaron's Avengers. I think it's been very long, not unlike his Thor run. Javier Goron is on art, and it looks really good too. Poison Ivy, DC's Scarlet Witch, which always has really, really good covers, really, really good B covers. And I thought I had one. Oh yeah, here's one. Middleton. Oh my goodness gracious. That is a really nice Poison Ivy cover. I mean, it's obviously, it's a nice looking woman. But I think it's the way he puts his thing together. And when I had Kari Andrews on the show, it was a nice little Joshua Middleton love fest I didn't know we were going to have. And I think he's a great artist. Probably one of my favorite cover artists working right now. Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, Part 5, I think of 7. This is the Mark Silvestri written and drawn series. I think Wills Pratasia does the variants this week or this month. Hey, look, it's Scarlet Witch, Marvel's Poison Ivy. It's been doing really well in sales, even though Steve Orlando writes it. I'm just joking. Sarah Pichelli is on art. This is a great Dodderman cover. There's a great B cover right here. I think it's Kasara. I can't remember. Anyway, looks nice. Here's another one. An Alex Ross villain Mephisto. At least this one kind of plays in well with Scarlet Witch. All right, we have Dawn of DC, Adventures of Superman, John Kent, 1 of 6. For those of you lamenting the Superman Son of Kal-El series that ended, we're going to get more. We're going to get more John Kent than we're getting in. Than we're even getting in action. It's going to be his own storyline. I've already heard that people are really liking it. If you can believe the talking heads that are out there. Here's a variant cover. I don't know. It almost looks like he pooped his pants. And here's another one. And it kind of looks like he pooped his pants. Black Panther ends. This is the John Ridley run that seems to have fallen apart as it was going along. That's a shame because I did like it in the beginning. Silver Surfer Ghostlight miniseries 2 of 5 comes out. I sold out of the first issue, so until the second print comes in, you got to get the second issue. Hope you're on hold. Static Season 2, Shadows of Dakota comes out tomorrow. Well, if I was open on Tuesdays, it came out already. X-23 Deadly Regenesis. Yeah, there you go. Who doesn't love Laura? This is actually not Wolverine Laura, but Laura X-23. So I assume this is a story back in the day. And I forget what Schultz's name is. Blood Tree, I really like the first issue of this. I'm a big Peter J. Tomasi fan. And these people that had wings sewed on them like angels were being dropped from really high distance. And it's like a detective story that has this weird little supernatural angle. New Mutants, Lethal Legion is a miniseries that is continuing Charlie Jane Anders' run of New Mutants. this is where I become jaded and I say, we know this 5-issue miniseries was just the 5 issues that would have been tacked on at the end of the New Mutants run if Charlie Jane Anders didn't suck so bad. But I do know a lot of people that like New Mutants regardless, and I'm sorry I just said the writer of this book sucks. Her character stinks too, but you're going to get this anyway, so it really doesn't matter what I said. Predator. This is like the 3rd volume of Predator that Ed Brisson's been writing, but I know people have been enjoying it, so here it is. All right, Stoneheart number 20, or number 1 comes out. I'm sorry. Written and drawn by Emma Kubert. She's the Kubert School alumnus, I think. Not related. And she's doing a fantasy book. Let's see here. What's next? We've got Spawn coming out. Excellent. And there's a variant cover that I thought was worth mentioning. I don't know. Something about this guy, I forget what his first name is. Something Keen. But I kind of like what he's doing here. Let's see. I already did this one. Yeah, I did Stoneheart. All right, 2 more, guys. Black Tape comes out. This is, I think, a 4-issue miniseries. 4-issue miniseries. And it's all about this dead musician's tape being used to bring in demons from hell. And for the first time ever, and I swear I've ordered this before, but supposedly this is for the first time ever, the Comixology original by Scott Snyder and Francis Manapul, Clear, is going to have a physical copy in comic stores by Dark Horse. And that is your new comics for the day, or for tomorrow, for this week, for 3/8/23. My goodness gracious. How time flies. Let's see if this will work. We all know it's not going to, but we're going to try anyway. Well, what do you know? It did work. This is part of the show where I would like to say thank you to all my patrons out there. You make this show continue on, along with all the other viewers, obviously. You've helped the store when times were tough. Things are slowly getting better or a little bit more manageable. I have a lot of hope, and I have a lot of belief that going forward, that comic books, the store, the model of the store can still continue on, and it's partly because of the rapport that we have with each other. It doesn't feel like I'm pushing something on people as opposed to allowing them to be able to know about it. And I like the experience in the comic store to be something where we're all sharing some information and having a little fun conversation. And, it's not too serious. And, we can let people know our likes, our dislikes, without insulting and without offending at the same time. And hopefully you get a little bit of that from this show. I've run way too long. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to go to chat just for a second. Oh, my gosh. What does this mean? This is from before. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, there we go. Not going to lie. I'm buying all the Silvestri sketch covers on those Dudley. Awesome. Donnie made money. He has a large house here in Austin. Yeah, I bet he did make money. I hope he comes back because I like his stuff. Not all of his, I don't love like Cosmic Ghost Rider, but I enjoy the effort and the energy that he puts in stuff. And he does, he puts in a good effort. And how's your father's here? Hello. How's it going, man? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll hopefully, and then for all of you that are new, let me know that you're here. Let me know you stuck it out. If we could stick this out for like a couple more weeks, well, I'll hit my monetization thing, and then we're really going to have a 3D party. What do you guys think about that? Yeah. Let's get me monetized. It should be fun. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Lucy and Ramona cruising through the jungles of L.A. Hoping to promote a dream somewhere along the way. They're rolling through the streets, looking for a disco, passing up the treats from a kid named Cisco, trying to make connections with their blemished food complexions, and just as fate would have it, ended up with Sunset Sam. Sam was selling watches from a suitcase on a TV tray. And Lucy and Ramona were trying to figure out if he was gay. The three of them were standing, staring at each other, when the light behind their eyes blew each other's cover. The ancient code was branded, and each of them was handed a ticket to their kingdom, 'cause they saw their brother Sunset Sam. Sunset Sam. Lucy was from Compton, and she met Ramona at the zoo. Ramona was from Brooklyn, but she left when she was 22. Sam was a native of the Arizona desert, but he split when he was slated for some governmental make-work. Their differences subsided when the common bond was sighted. They were all from the same place that made the famous Sunset Sam.